Hi, welcome to the bi-weekly show, and I am Kyle Schickner. Last week, the bi-weekly show was bi-weekly. I was shooting for the last 10 days, so I didn't get a chance to do the bi-weekly show. One day, maybe we'll have co-hosts, and I'll have maybe Joan Rivers come in and co-host the episode for me. Those under 40 probably don't understand that joke. This week it was after shooting. I would get home late at night and I would put on the TV, and I started watching a show on MTV called Catfish, which right away I start saying a show on MTV. I start to get worried. Catfish was based on a movie, which is a great movie, but a couple years ago about a man who started his online relationship with this woman, this perfect woman, and it turned out she wasn't who she was. Surprise, surprise. Very good movie if you haven't seen it. Anyway, they've turned it into a show, and the guy from the movie who fell in love is now sort of going around the country, and he's meeting other people that are in love with or in a relationship with someone online they haven't met, and they sort of bring them together. And of course, for the drama, they're never who they say they are. What's interesting about the show, the episode that I was watching that I want to talk about was interesting because it had to do with a woman, a young girl, maybe 18, 19 top, somewhere in the Midwest, who fell in love with this boy. And things aren't always what they seem. She goes and she finally meets him. It turns out the boy is a young teenager, transgendered, sort of just now starting to identify as a man, and sort of was online because she could sort of be herself as a woman. What's interesting about the show that I felt was just wonderful and refreshing and really encouraging from a long-term standpoint was that the girl who was in love with this transgendered boy was, when she found out the situation, and a lot of the times they're being manipulated or lied to. This was a situation where the transgendered boy was, in her mind, that's who she was. She was a boy. She used pictures of someone else, and then sometimes pictures of herself. That sort of, and what was great was this girl, and I don't know if she ever used the word bisexual, but her feeling was she falls in love with people. She doesn't, she didn't care. She fell in love with this person over the computer, and everything else was true, and they had conversations and talked on the phone and fell in love with this person. And she said that she can love boys and girls, men and women. And what was great was that they were together, and this transgendered girl was so happy and relieved and just felt accepted for the first time, sort of branching outside of the outside world. And first of all, I give MTV a lot of credit. I mean, it's MTV, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't think is necessarily the best thing for the culture. But their teenage mom series and a bunch of other stuff. What was great about this show was that they dealt with both the transgender boy and the bisexual girl really, 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 really compassionately and wonderfully. And just to sort of see these two connect, and love each other for who they are, having nothing to do with gender, having to do with who they are in the head, who they are in their heart, was great. And how MTV sort of promoted that and didn't make it this odd, weird, isn't this creepy, isn't this crazy thing. It was, they showed it, they dealt with it in the same way, and with as much respect as they would do a male-female relationship that dealt with it, and it was really great. And the other thing was that sort of connected. I have a friend out in Chicago, the suburbs of Chicago, and he has a seventh grade boy, and in their school there is a teacher who's transgendered, and what's interesting is, and he's gone the transition from male to female, and well over 10, 15 years ago, she made the transition and was a teacher there, so went from Mr. So-and-so to Mrs. So-and-so. What's fascinating, he says, and I talked to some people, is all the kids love her. She's the most favorite teacher. She's the greatest. What's interesting is all the parents will, when they talk about her, will whisper, he's the he, she. he's the boy that was a girl, that kind of thing. The kids could care less. The kids are engaged by her. They are inspired by her. They look up to her because of who she is, and it's the parents that are screwed up. I am optimistic in one way, and the way I'm optimistic is that just the sort of the way these kids on the Catfish show viewed life, and the way that MTV understood their audience and understood that this wasn't a freak thing, this wasn't weird, this is a no-brainer, this is no big deal to kids that age, was interesting. And to sort of see how the kids over in the Chicago suburb are totally cool, and they know it, and it doesn't matter. That's encouraging. Is that this sort of we're making we're almost outgrowing the hatred in the generation, which is how it should be. What's a little disheartening and worrisome is that these same kids, I think, are going to go then into the world thinking one way, thinking that it's all about the person, it's all about love, it doesn't matter, gender doesn't care, sexuality doesn't matter, all of that stuff. And they're going to go into the world and they're going to be met with boneheaded people who view bisexuality and transgender folk and gay and lesbian folk as freaky. The older, more fucked up generation, my generation, they're going to go into this world. These kids from Catfish, they're going to go into the world. This girl completely innocently saying, I don't care male or female, I don't care where they fit in their gender, I love this person, the transgender person who finds this open, loving girl to accept her. The fear is they're going to go into this world and think this is how it's going to be. And people like closed-minded folk that I've talked about on the show before, I'm not going to say your name if you're not Dan Savage, but people like that, older people who sort of have bad feelings about bisexuality, they're going to come and they're going to be unprepared to deal with the bigotry. And my fear is that will then push them back into the closet. There was a bunch of polls that came out and talked about how bisexual folk are the least amount of the population of the LGBT who are out, and the reason is many reasons. So my fear is that these people are going to come unprepared for the hardships, and they're going to get kicked in the teeth. Hopefully, we as a movement, both the LGBT community and the bisexual community, will sort of open the doors. And really, we need to start stepping aside. We're too old. We don't understand. We're going to be dead soon. The next generation are the ones that are going to spearhead this revolution, the sexual revolution, sexual identity revolution. And we need to get out of the way and say, okay, where are you going? You steer, we'll help out. But we're not, because we're so wrapped up in our ego and being the one being interviewed, and the ones on the blogs, and the ones that are looked up to and get invited to all the seminars and all that. But we need to step away and let these people, let this girl and this transgender teen in Catfish, and people like that, the teens in Chicago who don't give a crap about their teacher's gender, they just want to be inspired in what teachers should be. We need to get out of their way and let them do what they want to do. That being said, hopefully these people, once they start leading, will put me on Survivor. Mark Burnett, Jeff Probst, let's go. I'm ready. I've been eating rice all week. I hate rice. I'm doing it. All right. Next 2 weeks, I will be on vacation with my family, doing the tourist thing, going to Legoland and Universal and Venice Beach and all that. So I will not most likely be posting for the next 2 weeks. So you'll have to just keep going back and watching my other stuff for your Kyle fix.